Good evening. We'll call to order the Finance Committee of January 23rd, 2024. And running down the agenda, second item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve draft minutes of the January 10th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting?
I move approval.
All right, we have a motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. Is there any discussion, any changes? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, item 3, public appearances, non-agenda items. I don't believe we have anyone online or in chambers, correct, Scott? All right. Moving on to the next item, Finance Director report. First item is committee, commissions, and board staff contact guide. Misty Dodge, our Finance Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So the document that's included in the packet is a newly released document put together by a group of internal people coordinated by the city administrator. So this is the staff guide for those of us that are liaisons with different boards, committees, commissions, etc. Things that are included in there include what the different roles and responsibilities are, what expectations are as far as minute taking and payroll, keeping track of payroll and all of those different things. We included it on every board, commission, and committee agenda, just so you guys are aware that that's out there and you can see what's all included in there. For the Finance Committee, since y'all are on the council already, there's really minimal impact of the things that are included in here. We're already following those best practices, but still wanted you to be aware that that document has been released. So I'll pause for questions, and then I have a couple other things to talk about too. Nothing?
No, nothing.
Great. Other big thing, of course, going on is still tax collection. The 31st is already next week, which is hard to believe. So property owners are going to want to make sure they at least get their first installment paid by the 31st. We here at the city will collect through the 31st. After that, everything goes to the county. And I'll remind everyone that the county is a very expensive bank. So you're going to want to make sure you hit those due dates because the penalty and interest of 1.5% per month is pretty expensive. So make sure you hit those due dates, minimum of your first installment, and then for sure in full by the end. If you hit that, if you don't hit that first installment, you lose the right to the installments at that point, and it is due in full then as of January 31st, and you can't wait until July any longer. So definitely make sure you hit at least that first installment amount. End of year stuff is still going through too. So closing out 2023, opening up 2024. So that's been taking a lot of staff time, making sure that things are rolled over and ready to go for the new year. And then other big news are accounting software. I think I've talked about that a little bit. We're going to upgrade to the new Connect version of the base software that we have. That is scheduled for February 8th. So it's not a huge improvement. It's just kind of upgrading to that newer version of what we already have. So this is kind of that first, or one of the many steps in kind of our software transition. That's all I have.
Questions? Yes, Alder Gerhardt.
When is the plan to get the new finance software? I know we've been talking about that for a few years.
Yeah, so that has hit some road bumps. So the current plan is this upgrade is at least a Band-Aid, if nothing else, to get us through some time. The problem is the other software leaders kind of in this space are significantly more expensive than the money that was authorized. So we are prioritizing the budget that we have for kind of our big pain points, which is the on-base stuff, the OpenGov stuff, this upgrade. We're going to look at new payroll software for next year and then budget software for next year as well. So we're prioritizing those things that will have the most impact, and then we'll see what budget funding is still available and then look and see if there's opportunity to expand it further.
Great. Thanks.
Of course.
Misty, when you say 20 for next year, do you mean 2024?
No, it is 2024, right? So the payroll software, we're looking at doing that now with an effective date of 1/1/25. And then the budget software, either look at what our options are this year with implementation for next year. So kind of both years. Yeah, thank you. I'm living in 3 different years right now. So yeah, that's good.
All right, additional questions for Misty? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of January 1st to the 15th, 2024, totaling $199,931.97. Questions, discussion from the committee? Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on to the next item. Item 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 126201 through 126228 for the period of January 1st through the 15th, 2024, totaling $234,611.92. Questions or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item 5C, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending December 6, 2023, total $259,248.35. Questions, discussion? All right, seeing none, hearing none, moving on to 5D, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending December 6, 2023. Total dollars, $128,999.60. Questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. That concludes item 5 on our agenda. We'll move to item 6, action items. Do I have a motion to move resolution R-01-24 and correct me, Jim? Esri. How my short-term memory. Esri Enterprise License Agreement Renewal.
I move approval.
All right, a motion for approval made by Alder Gerhardt. Misty, you're speaking to this item?
I am.
All right.
So this is a purchasing item for software that we already use. I call it Esri too. I don't know if that's really what it's called, but that's what I call it, is Esri. This is our GIS software. The reason why it's coming to you is it's a 3-year contract, though it is something that we're already using. It's really ingrained into kind of the city's operations in order to make us really efficient. In fact, today at Department Head, they were talking about another feature that is available in there. So there's some pretty cool functionality available because of this software.
Great. Any further comment?
Looks like a
No,
question.
but
not from me.
okay. Alder Gerhardt, go ahead.
So just for the 3-year contract, so we still pay it in 3 installments, or do we pay up front for the 3 years?
So I'm not sure what this particular contract is. I'd have to go back to the contract, but we do it both ways, depending on the situation. But we do make sure that it's just 1 year worth of expense that hits our budget each year. So that part's still taken care of if that's where the question ultimately goes.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Additional questions? All right. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, which is 6B. Do I have a motion to move resolution R-02-24 approving maintenance services for well number 4 and well number 10?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. Tim, I believe Tim Volker, our Director of Public Works and Engineering, you're going to speak to this item?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Resolution R-02-24 is for routine maintenance services are needed at well number 4 and well number 10. A request for proposal was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on December 8th, 2023, and also on December 15th, 2023, as well as being posted on questcdn.com. On December 22nd, 2023, 2 proposals were received for this project. A quality-based selection method was used by Public Works staff, and CTW Corporation was determined to be the most qualified contractor to provide maintenance services for well number 4 and well number 10. So with this resolution, we're looking to award the maintenance services for well number 4 and well number 10 to CTW Corporation. And then with this resolution, there's also a 3-part budget amendment. The first part is we're looking at amending the 2024 water utility budget to redirect $80,754 from the Verona Road project to this well maintenance project. The second part of the budget amendment is amending the 2024 water utility budget to redirect $55,000 for well number 7 maintenance services to the maintenance services for well number 4 and well number 10. And then lastly, as part of the budget amendment, we're looking to include the 2023 budget carryover amounts for this project in the annual carryover resolution, which is anticipated to be voted on by council in March 2024.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. Questions, discussion from the committee? Did you have additional?
If I can add something quick, if I may. So the carryover clause that's in there is fairly unusual. Usually we ask people to wait until after the carryovers are approved by council before they start doing those projects. But this is such a high priority project that we felt it more prudent to bring it to you with the understanding that you will approve that carryover. So that's why that clause is in there, which is not usually something we would do.
All right. Further, Tim, anything else to add?
I do.
All right. Questions, discussion from the committee? All right. Seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, which is 6C. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-03-24, the 2024 Dane County contract for case management and nutrition services?
I move approval.
All right. We have a motion for approval made by Alder Gerhart, and I do see Jill McHone. Okay. Correct me. After all this time, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. This is just our annual county contract that funds our home-delivered congregate meal program as well as case management, and then MA case management, which is actually billable. So we are entitled to bill up to $17,000 for MA case management. Very standard contract that we've been doing for years with Dane County.
Yeah. Very good. Great program.
Thanks.
Everything you do is great. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I will open it up to the floor for questions, discussion. Go ahead, Alder Gerhart.
You said you can bill up to $17,000 for the case management. I assume that we typically
get
use
close.
more than that.
I was just reviewing this year. I think we're going to come in about $2,500 short. It takes a while for the bills to come through Dane County, so we haven't been reimbursed for November or December. And then when we submit our bills, if there's any sort of other MA eligible provider that might take precedent over us, they get that funding. It's kind of a interesting situation. There's a lot of clients that we serve on a daily basis that are within family care, which is a community-based MA program. And so that provider, any service that they do, they get top billing, whereas we just help them without being able to bill. Another example might be maybe a mental health situation. If that company can bill for those services, two parties cannot bill. So another party might take priority over us. So oftentimes we'll bill our service hours, and then the county kind of reconciles, and other providers might, if another provider is billing at the same time for case management, then they'll take top priority.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't always get reimbursed for everything.
We don't always make exactly what they give us. They've allocated more every single year, sort of based on back billings. There's only been 1 year since I've been here that we actually had to go and ask for them to amend our contract to allow us to bill more. But usually we fall close to or just slightly under what they allow us to bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any additional questions, discussion? All right. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. And moving on to the next action item, which is, just make sure I have my place here, 6D. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-04-24, amending the 2024 General Fund Budget, Senior Center LTE Nutrition Site Assistant?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. Jill, I suspect you're going to speak to this item as well.
Yeah, if I could, thank you.
Sure.
As you can see in the memo that was in your packet, this is a position that I've put in the budget the last 2 years, knowing that as our meal program grows, as our outreach grows, and it's not just home delivered, it's congregate as well, that the merged position, the volunteer coordinator / nutrition site manager, which was a brilliant idea back in 2007, is no longer really fitting the needs of the program that we have. I'm finding that Mandy is spending the majority of her time in the kitchen these days. The meals show up now at 9 with our new contracted caterer, and she has to be in there, but between 8:30 and 1:30 almost every single day to make sure that those meals are getting out, to make sure things are set up. For the congregate meal program, we now almost need 4 volunteers a day in the kitchen. Oftentimes we don't have that many. So I find that she's in the kitchen quite a bit these days, which is taking away from a very critical need of growing the volunteer program. And so I did reach out to our Fitchburg Senior Center friends to see if they would be willing to pilot an LTE position for this year. And they did agree to that. And so I'm here today to ask for your support to approve this position so we could, knowing it's LTE, I'm realizing that it isn't necessarily going to be funded in 2025. I still think that it's worth using the hours this year to allow Mandy to grow that volunteer pool, because as we do more programming and we need more volunteers, we need an additional meal route, and we need somebody in the kitchen that's really managing just the day-to-day operations while Mandy would still maintain all the administrative duties that go along with any sort of government funding, particularly with nutrition funding, which is federal funding. The reporting that is attached to that is quite a bit. It's time consuming. An example is every home delivered meal client now there's a 7-page assessment. Now, while Mandy doesn't have to do that, the case managers have to do that. She has to make sure that that data is inputted into the computer, and we do have some volunteers that do that too, but it's something that the county looks very closely at because all the funding is tied to that. And everything, again, that we do with the county, there's 10 reports that go along with that. So she could maintain that. She could do all the scheduling as she does, and then recruit for a lot of other needs that we have. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you. Discussion. Yes, Alder Gerhardt.
So the site manager comparison chart that you provided in the memo was pretty wild. The
Right.
fact that this one person with 20 hours a week is going to be covering, well, actually, we didn't have anyone right now, but covering that many meals.
Right. I can say that Mandy has done an amazing job of training our volunteers to sort of be self-led. But there's just too many details now going on. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is our kind of highest home delivered meal day, and that's 50 meals going out. So you really have to be detail oriented and make sure every bag is going to the right place. Make sure that the food is temped right. And again, when volunteers aren't able to come in that day, weather related, she's in the kitchen and stuff. But she's done an amazing job of recruiting volunteers that are very independent. Most nutrition site managers are in the kitchen full time all the time, but knowing that she's also the volunteer coordinator, she set it up that way. But now we're finding that it can't operate that way anymore for her to do both jobs.
Yeah. It's really generous for the Friends of the Senior Center to make
They're
this
amazing.
possible. That's a pretty incredible grant to the city. My other question is just logistically, the personnel committee is meeting on February 20th. I assume we're going to have to go through a process with our firm to get a position description set up, or are we able to hire this out more quickly than that?
So since this is an LTE position and not a permanent position, it doesn't go through the classification process. Sarah Olson sets the pay based on the LTE schedule instead.
So assuming this is funded tonight, we could hire this out fairly quickly?
Yeah, I've already had the job description approved by Sarah.
Great.
So it's been through the process.
Good to hear.
Tomorrow. No. Well, whenever Misty says.
Thank you.
All right. Jeb, you had question or two.
And did I read correctly, you will be putting in for a full-time position for next year's budget?
We'll be putting in for at least 25 hours for 2025. The proposal that I put in the last 2 years had that 25-hour-a-week position, and then it would allocate as a full-time volunteer coordinator. So we were just looking at adding. I think this year is really going to be a great test. You know, if that indeed happened and we were able to get that 25-hour-a-week, we would shift those other hours into the volunteer coordinator position. And it looks like this still might be a good fit where that volunteer coordinator might be still doing some administrative work of the nutrition site manager, because now that they're merged, you know, we're still sharing the duties of one job. And truly, if I'm looking at this chart, and like you, I was like, holy moly, I didn't realize, you know, again, because Mandy's done a great job of volunteers doing a lot of the work. You know, this might be a full-time position pretty soon, you know, sooner than I anticipated. And I think I could have done stronger advocacy during the budget season, but because I knew what was coming down the pike. But in the last 3 months, things have just exploded. And I don't see that going away. Our meal program has ebbs and flows all the time, but it's ebbing and it's not, you know, going down quite as much. And with the outreach that we're continuing to do and making better connections at the senior apartment buildings, this is not going away. And so, would I put it as full-time in the 2025 budget? Probably not, but probably depending on how things go in 2025, or if we can continue to retain some of the administrative work, which is a lot of hours, within another umbrella, maybe the volunteer coordinator umbrella. I don't think we would need to. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's where I was going, is that whether this person would be overwhelmed with
Right.
25 hours. Or
Right,
they
and I
need more.
kind of, the last 3 months, I'm like, boy, they just might be. But I think this is a great pilot year to see. There's different skill sets that we're looking at with the manager position and the reporting and a lot of the other things that we're doing with the county versus maybe having somebody in the kitchen actually doing the work there, you know, overseeing the volunteers, doing the dishes, cleaning up the meal site. There's many days that all of us are cleaning up. And so to have somebody designated to do that, different skill sets for different positions. So.
If
Yes,
I
Misty,
may, quick,
go
I'd
ahead.
like to circle back real quick to the financial expectations of this position. You all know how we feel about structural deficits, right? So I'm sure that is something that you're thinking about as well. And we had a pretty serious conversation with Jill about if this is approved, there's absolutely no guarantee that it will be approved in 2025 budget. She
Right.
can request it,
Yep.
as she has every year, just
Yep.
like all the rest of the staff and department heads will continue to request things. But and please confirm, there's no demand that it be included in the 2025 budget.
I didn't know I
as
could
well.
demand it. Because if I can, I will.
Yeah, microphone, you can do all
No,
sorts of
I get it. And the Friends do not want to continue funding it either. So, you know, is there a risk, you know, that we just, you know, continue to accommodate this growth and then we have to say, what are we going to do now? You know, I think we're going to know soon enough. And as I said, you know, we continue to train more volunteer leaders that can be in that kitchen and just do the best we can do.
And the person as well will be aware
Yes,
that it's a
for sure.
one-time
Yeah.
or a one-year
Right.
assignment.
Yep.
So that there's no
Yeah,
expectations
for
there
sure.
either.
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned volunteers. How many volunteers do you have?
So I would say active, you know, and active is, you know, you're volunteering no less than once a month. I would say we probably have 135. We probably have 200 just within our database where we get, you know, a handful of folks that just do help with the pancake breakfast, some of those special fundraisers that we need help with. But actual volunteers, I mean, when you just count 5 meal drivers every single day, 3 to 4 kitchen helpers every single day, and different ones 5 days a week. So we don't have, some do more than 2 days a week. But that's risky because if they're sick and they get COVID, then we're all in the kitchen. So Mandy's goal then is to reduce volunteers that are doing more than, if they're doing multiple days a week, particularly a meal driver, that we scale them back to 1 day a week. Because if they get sick, then we're looking for more meal drivers. And so, you know, in the initiatives that I'd like to see her do if this position is approved is increasing that volunteer pool, increasing it with a more diverse volunteer pool, so we have people of color that are volunteering. We haven't really gone out there and really tried to increase that, and as the diversity of the folks we serve increases, I want our volunteer pool to reflect that. Spanish-speaking volunteers, we have folks that only speak Spanish, particularly on our meal program, that need rides, medical rides, and I'd love to get Spanish-speaking volunteers that can take people to the doctor. So those are the priorities, and particularly the extra meal route that we see coming. So that's not just one extra driver for a meal route, it's 5, because you want a different driver every day. And then all of them don't want to drive every day each week. Some drivers drive every other week. So it's this huge schedule that she has to fill, and it just takes one person. Well, actually, it took about 5 of them that are snowbirds. Like, oh, what am I going to do for February, But she does really well. So,
Is this a position that can be funded from somewhere else if the Friends decide not to? I mean, other than the Friends or the city, county? Is there?
Well, I mean, you can see the increase in funding that the county has given us over the years,
Sure.
with the exception of this year or 2024 when they took some of the money away. The funding has gone up quite a bit.
Sure.
I don't think I can't make a case that it all is dumped into a formula, so they're not going to do it. And you don't see any grants that will fund positions. It's really hard to.
Nothing that you haven't
Yeah.
already explored. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the next action item, which is 6E. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-05-24, authorizing purchase of 1.5-inch and 2-inch water meters?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Gerhardt. And Tim, I see you online. You're speaking to this item?
Yes, sir. Resolution R-05-24 includes funds. The capital improvement plan includes funds to replace all 1.5-inch and 2-inch low lead meters over a 4-year period. These meters will be replaced at the time they are due to be tested. This resolution approves the purchase of 57 Badger E-Series meters. Meters are due for testing in 2024. The Badger E-Series meters are ultrasonic. They have no mechanical components and are more accurate at low flows than our existing meters. And there are sufficient funds in the budget for this project.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tim. Discussion from the committee. Yes, Alder Gerhardt.
This is more of a, what do you call it? Administrative thing, but it's always nice when the final cost is included in the resolution text. So that's 67, it's around 67,000 is what was listed in the supporting materials. 67,330,
Correct.
Is that correct? I think it's always, just in the future, when you can, it's nice to include it in the final resolution text, just for clarity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other questions for Tim? Hearing none, I'll place the motion to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving on to our last action item under item 6F. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-07-24, amending the 2024 General Fund Budget, LTE staffing?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. And we have Lieutenant Hartwick here with us this evening. You're going to speak to this item?
At least a portion of it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
We are requesting to use salary savings to continue a program that was very successful for us last year, and bringing back 2 retired personnel back in an LTE capacity, essentially a double fill in one position, and that being the community service officer. And then the second position being a records specialist, just to assist with workload and to allow our full-time staff to focus on some more challenges that are in front of them, and they're helping in a variety of ways.
Very good. And Misty, you have some comments?
Sure. So there's a third position that's included in here as well,
Right.
which is also using police vacancy savings and also is a continuation of something that was approved in 2023, which is the use of a former city employee, Paul Woodard, to help with the police services facility design and then possibly other projects as well for the city. So like to continue that LTE arrangement as well. All three of these are LTE positions, aware that the position will end once the funding runs out, not expected to move forward without, if it's not able to be fit in the budget.
All right, very good. Any discussion from the committee? All right, hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Lieutenant. Anything further before I move on under action items? Item 7, announcements. I have one announcement, and I'll also make this announcement at council, but the February 13th, 2023 Finance Committee will start at 5:30 p.m. Just because there's a number of items that could be lengthy in discussion. We have the mayor's proposed ARPA TID closure investment plan update. We have a resolution accepting an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Fitchburg and the town of Verona for cost share and design services for Fitch-Verona Road. And then the third item that may have some discussion is the approving the schematic design and preliminary budget for the police service facility. So 5:30 with our next Finance Committee meeting. Are there any other announcements? All right, hearing none. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All right. We have a motion for adjournment made by Alder Gerhardt. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:01 p.m. Thank you.